You have found Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. Past episodes of the Authentic Business Adventures program can be found in the podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. We are locally underwritten by the Bank of Sun Prairie. My name is James Kademan, entrepreneur, author, speaker, and helpful coach to small business owners across the country. Today, we're welcoming / preparing to learn from Tom Bailey, the founder and coach of Succeed Through Speaking. So, Tom, how are you doing today?
James, I'm doing fantastic. Thank you so much for bringing me along from the other side of the pond.
Yeah, right. Yeah. Where, just for the crowd, where are you located?
So I'm in the UK and specifically in the center of the UK, a place called Birmingham.
Birmingham. Nice. I would love to say that I've been there, but unfortunately I have not yet.
No, one day.
One day. Yeah. Europe's definitely a place we got to go.
Awesome.
So tell me, the Succeed Through Speaking, what is that? Just so our listeners know.
Yeah, of course. I'm sure we'll get into this story a little bit more as we go. But effectively, my belief is that the more we speak and present as business owners, the more we get ourselves out there and tell our story, the more likelihood is that we're going to succeed in business as well. So, yeah, I help people to use public speaking, presenting, podcasting, video to get their message to market.
Nice, nice. And I imagine you run into people that are terrified of things like that.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And you just help them navigate the waters, essentially, so to speak.
Yeah, so I'm sure I'll talk about my story along this journey. But I was my first client, and like a lot of coaches, like a lot of coaches are. And I had a crippling fear of public speaking, and ultimately, a lot of the business owners that I help, they are the best kept secret in their market because they're too scared to talk about themselves. They're too scared to go on camera, and they end up getting left hidden from their competitors.
Gotcha. So how long have you been doing this?
So my journey through public speaking has probably been about 10, 15 years, but I've been specifically coaching in this space for about the past 3 or 4 years.
Gotcha. Okay. And how did you end up doing this?
So yeah, it's a long story. I'll start at the beginning, and then obviously you can ask questions.
In the beginning, right?
In the beginning, long time ago. So I spent about the first probably 25 years of my life becoming an expert at avoiding public speaking. And
you trained for it.
Yeah, I was.
Very simple. Don't go on stage, right?
I was the best in the world at avoiding it at all costs. And that was because I had social anxiety. I had a crippling fear of public speaking. And it was even speaking in front of 2 or 3 people. It really was called glossophobia is the medical term, but it's that fear of speaking in front of other people.
All right. And this is, hold on a second. This is something that you had just as soon as somebody said for the first time you're in, I don't know if they do 2nd grade, 3rd grade in the UK or however they do it, but they said, hey, tell your story. And you just freak out. Nope, not going to happen. Red face, sweat, all that kind of stuff.
All that. It was as early as I can remember. Back in school, you used to have to put your hand up to tell an answer or ask a question. I would never do it. And when I had to, I'd go bright red. I'd be scared people are going to laugh at me. My hands would be shaking. I'd feel this pressure building up inside of me. It wasn't very conducive for having a lot of confidence in school.
All right. And you said even when you're talking to a couple people, so this is let's just say same thing, grade school, you're walking down the hallway, there's a couple people there. You even then kind of clam up?
Yeah. So, I mean, when you've got great friends, close friends, it's a little bit easier. You can have a laugh. I was always the quietest. I was always the shyest. I was always the least likely to spark a conversation. But when it came to anybody new, somebody I haven't met before, somebody who might have an opinion of me, I just completely wouldn't speak to them. I'd completely freeze.
Wow. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So I imagine that sounds like it was a limitation.
A massive limitation.
Certainly something that you realized that you had to navigate through.
Absolutely. Yeah.
All right.
So this stayed with me for all of school years and into university, into my early career. And you can kind of get away with it in school because, you can just be the quiet kid in class. It's okay. University, you can study, you can hand in your coursework, you can do your exams, you can get through. As soon as you get into the career, in a professional world, working in a corporate environment, you need to interview, you need to present, you need to stand up and speak. And that's when it really became real for me. And I thought, do you know what? I really need to do something about this.
All right. So let's just say corporate world. What were you doing in the corporate world? Like what career or job path were you going down?
So, I mean, I spent 4 years in university learning business studies. So really I could have gone into anything. But again, this big fear of public speaking held me back. I crumbled in every job interview. I tried to go for graduate programs, leadership management, and ended up just working in a contact center, picking up the phone. And because that's the only interview I could get, it was minimum wage, and it wasn't exactly what I planned for.
To be fair, there's no shame in that. I own a call center, so
there you go.
Perfect. High fives there all the way around.
Exactly.
What I find interesting,
is
that you went to business school and they didn't teach you this.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Communication is the heart of your success. You're paying them thousands of dollars. They're like, read a book.
I know. And that's the thing, I could get away with it at university because I became an expert at avoiding it. I didn't present when I was supposed to. I went off sick when I had to go off sick. I sat at the back of the lecture theatre and just didn't catch eye contact with the lecturer. I just became great at it. And ultimately, I wish I hadn't become so good at avoiding it because I would have been able to push myself earlier. But yeah, I planned to go into a management role, but yeah. Again, nothing wrong with the contact center. I had a great time there, but it wasn't what I'd planned for over that 4 years of university.
All right. So then you're at this contact center and you probably realize, hey, I want to do something different.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not going to say better because I love call centers, but
exactly.
Let's just say something different or more outgoing, or, well, even in call center, you got to be pretty outgoing.
The best thing about the contact center for me, and it was actually a great place for me, was that I could just have one-to-one conversations with people over the phone, right?
Okay.
I was amazing at one-to-one conversations. I could build good relationships with close friends and family. And it was just that multiple people in the conversation I really struggled with. So actually, thinking about it now, I never really reflected on this, but the contact center was the best place for me at that time in my career because I could just have those great one-to-one conversations with customers.
Nice. All right. But eventually you said, hey, we got to get out of this contact center, do something different. What was something different?
There's something different, and it wasn't actually something I chose. The company I worked for at the time, we were based in the Midlands in Birmingham, and a company in Scotland, north of England, purchased the company and they took the whole contact center up to Scotland, which meant that they closed down the Midlands branch.
Oh, so you lost your job.
Lost my job, went through redundancy. Exactly. So
that'll help make a decision for you.
Yeah, exactly. So it was, lost my job, been made redundant. Still can't interview, still haven't built my confidence because I've been hiding in the contact center. And something else happened at this time in my life. And that was a much more personal story. But I was asked to speak at a close family member's funeral. It was my nan. And, my mom said it would be great if you could stand up and talk at the funeral and, say a few words. But I said no. Obviously, something I regret, something I'll never be able to take back, something I will always regret. But that was the big trigger for me that said, do you know what, you idiot? You need to do something about this. This is ridiculous. You can't keep saying no to everything your whole life.
Especially at your nan's funeral.
Exactly right.
Holy cow. Nan's going to raise up from her grave and be like, seriously.
Yeah, I know, right? That's it. And I didn't do it. And, someone else took my place and they did it. And I was watching the whole time thinking, why didn't I just do this? It's not that difficult, surely.
Right.
So, two big triggers, redundancy and the speaking at the funeral. So that kicked me off on a journey to overcome this fear of speaking. And I mean, I tried everything. I read every single book on public speaking, presenting, confidence, social anxiety. I went to every conference, seminar, workshop with public speaking gurus, invested a lot of money. What else did I do? The one thing that was a big mistake was I actually paid a vocal coach to work with me to try and change my accent because I thought that's the reason why I wasn't able to speak. It's obviously insane, right? And
right.
It was another limiting belief that I had, or another avoidance technique or tactic that I had to try and stop me having to speak. And I said, I'll speak when I sound like this, or I'll speak when I look like this, or, I'll speak when I've achieved this.
Oh, so you're setting milestones that really have nothing to do with what you're trying to accomplish.
Exactly. Yeah, they're
All right.
avoidance techniques, which
Mhm.
I found out now that that's what I was doing. At the time, I didn't know that's what I was doing, but
Sure.
now I know that that's what I was
Well,
doing.
there's some interesting people that can make a lot of money selling people two things, hope and fear.
Yes.
And a lot, I'm not saying that the places that you went were necessarily
Mhm.
bad or that they were shady or anything like that.
Mhm.
But a lot of times their customer base are the people that are trying to pay them to kick the can of the problem down the road.
Exactly.
People
Yeah,
still
that's
keep
exactly
running
what
around with
was
their
happening.
problem, and
Yeah.
the other people still get paid. So
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
keeping the economy rolling with hope and fear.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right. And the last thing that I did as well was I joined a Toastmasters.
Oh,
I think you,
nice. Okay.
yeah, I think you've got them over there in the US as well.
Oh, yeah.
So
Yeah.
I
Huge.
joined a Toastmasters, and that for me was actually quite a big turning point because it meant that I was having to force myself to stand up and speak in front of people.
Mm-hmm.
And the only limitation I think is it took me about I was at Toastmasters for about 6 years, and it's so slow because you do a talk every month or every
Yeah.
couple of weeks you do like a 3-minute talk.
Mm-hmm.
It's quite a slow journey, but it did help me to slowly overcome my fear of speaking.
I want to pause you for a moment. Tell us about your first Toastmasters presentation.
So the first 4 times I went to Toastmasters, I sat at the back of the room and I didn't speak to anybody. A classic example. And then when I did eventually stand up and talk, it was literally, "Hi everyone, my name's Tom, and I don't really want to be here," and that was it.
Like an
Sat back
AA
down.
meeting or something like that.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
it was like an AA meeting. Sat back down in my seat, didn't do it again, and I was tempted not to go back because I felt embarrassed. I went red when I said that, my name. But yeah, eventually I did get set then a task. And I can't remember what my first task was. I think it was about me and the topic. And I had to just write a 3 to 5 minute speech about me.
Mm-hmm.
The best thing that I did was I spent about 3 weeks learning that talk so much. I read it over and over again. I recorded it. I listened to it back. Read it to the mirror, read it to my partner at the time. And that for me started to set in motion that if you practice and prepare, you're going to be more confident when it comes to delivery as well.
Totally fair. Yeah, absolutely. That's cool.
So
So how was it
it's been a long
received?
journey. Yeah, actually, this is the thing. There was only about probably 14, 15 people in the room. It's quite a small group. But they all clapped their hands and, the evaluator said, "Well done, Tom. You did a great job." And that boosted my confidence.
All
And I
right.
think that really did start me on a much better path then.
I imagine they give you feedback
Yes.
on how the
Yes, exactly.
presentation went. Some good, some like, hey, here's room for improvement.
Yeah.
So did
Yeah.
they say things like, hey, you didn't make any eye contact, you
Yeah.
mumbled, we
That's
could
it.
tell that you're in a sly panic mode or something like that?
Yeah. Yeah. Sweat was dripping from your face. Did you notice? So they always give you the feedback sandwich, don't they? Which is, great. You did an amazing job staying on 2 feet. Well done.
You
However,
stayed alive and kept your pulse moving while you're
exactly,
speaking. Good job.
you didn't faint. Here's some things you can improve. And yeah, it was typically, you didn't bring your eyes up from the script the whole time. You were gripping onto that lectern so hard that it was shaking, and all the usual things that I started to pick up on. But at the end they said, "But well done. You articulated your message well. You did it within the 3 minutes, and sit yourself back down, and we'll see you in 2 weeks."
Nice.
Yeah.
So from that, that boosted your confidence? Did
Yeah.
they also point out anything that you weren't even aware of that you're like, oh man,
Yeah.
I gotta go work on that?
Yeah, every single time I spoke, there was one extra thing I had to learn and do differently. So yeah, it was a very long process, and it's not the path I recommend to my clients.
Oh, interesting.
However,
Okay.
for me, it did eventually get me there after about 5 or 6 years.
5 or 6 years.
Yeah, yeah.
So, and how often were you presenting over the course of that time? We're talking every few
Probably
weeks.
once a month on average.
Okay.
Because
All
you
right.
go to the meeting, it was fortnightly. Sometimes I would be an evaluator, sometimes I'd just be an audience member, and sometimes I'd speak. So maybe 10 times a year I'd be speaking.
So you're talking 50, 60 times that you spoke?
Yeah, only 3 to 5 minutes, but yeah, small little chunks of speaking in front of small audiences over and over again. It really did help over time.
All right. But it took you 5 or 6 years to actually say, I'm not going to squeeze the wood off of this podium or sweat profusely as I'm giving this presentation. Wow. All right.
Yeah. So that's why the way that I teach people now is, we can do the same thing in about 6 to 12 weeks. Nice. Because there's a step-by-step system. But yeah, ultimately how long it took me, I don't want it to take other people that long. And I do a lot more close work with people.
That's cool. That's cool that you have the program that makes it that much faster, because 5 or 6 years, man, a lot can happen in 5 or 6 years. We don't even know what's going to happen to ourselves in 5 or 6 years.
Yeah.
Interesting.
And for those business owners that I work with who are, afraid of speaking, they don't want to wait 5 or 6 years to get their message out there into the market. They want to be able to get results quickly, grow their business, and ultimately have that impact.
Right. Yeah. You just want to flip that switch and have it taken care of yesterday.
That's it. Yeah.
That's it. Interesting. So tell me, okay, after 5, 6 years of Toastmasters, at that point, do you feel like, hey, if I had to present on something, I would be good to take care of it?
Yeah. So what had happened during that time as well is I figured out how to land an interview, and, I got a job, and I was working my way up the career ladder. And everything that I was learning in Toastmasters, I was applying into my role at the time. And that was that the more you speak and present and get your message out there in front of people, the more likely you are to be seen as the next logical promotion in the company. So once I built the confidence, I started to ask my boss, can I speak at this management event? Can I go and speak at this leadership conference? Can I speak here? Can I speak there? Can I do videos? And so I was really pushing myself. Eventually, I was asked to speak at it's a global conference, actually, in London, in the UK, in front of 450 people. The biggest audience I'd done before then was about 16, 17 at the Toastmasters. But I had this little bit of confidence to say, do you know what? I'm just going to sign up and I'm going to do it. No matter how well it goes, if I embarrass myself, it doesn't matter. And that one talk I did in front of that one audience, got me about 3 promotions in my career, because I was then seen as a credible expert. But also B, it gave me the confidence to say, do you know what? I can do this. I didn't die. It actually went pretty well. And I got some good feedback at the end as well.
Nice. That's awesome. Yeah, that's incredible, because the quality of your life, I don't know if people understand this or not, but the quality of your life, whether it's career, relationship, whatever, it's limited to the quality of your communication.
Exactly.
I see employees that I have all the time that have less than great communication, and you look at where they're at in life and you're like, I can kind of see where you ran into some issues, and they're probably oblivious to it despite what I try to tell them. I mean, that's employer employee, but same thing when you meet people, some of your friends, family, stuff like that, you can see they're the ones that are confident and can communicate that effectively, not being rude or obnoxious, but just they don't. It's I always like to think of Alec Baldwin.
Yeah.
Alec Baldwin's a guy, he's just got confidence that's not arrogance.
Yes.
That's kind of, I mean, there's probably a million actors or actresses that fit that bill, but he's always one that I like to think of. Maybe it's because he kind of whispers when he talks. I don't know what it is, but whatever it is, it's one of those things that when you meet people that can communicate well, you just know that they can lead themselves as well as other people, which is a phenomenal skill to have.
Yeah. Yeah. And yeah, there's 2 parts of it. Is I've seen it from both sides, from a corporate world and also from entrepreneurship, business, coaching world as well. So in a corporate world, I always talk about 3 aspects of your career, and that's performance, image, and exposure.
All right.
Most people can perform well in their role. They can get their head down, they can get stuff done, they can deliver, hit their targets. But a lot of people don't look at the other 2, which is image and exposure. So when it comes to image, it's about your personal brand. How do you come across? How are you seen? What do people think of you? What do people say about you when you're not in the room? That's that kind of image element. And equally, exposure is, how are you getting exposed to the senior leadership levels of the business and external, networks as well. So if you can perform well, if you can improve your personal brand, and you can get exposure to senior leaders in the organization and externally, your career will skyrocket, and you'll always be seen as that next logical step in the promotional ladder.
That is clever. Is this now those 3 things? Is this something that you came up with?
No, it's not. It's something that I saw and lived. And only after researching afterwards did I look back and think, do you know what? That's actually what I did. I can't remember who created it, but I think it's called the PI model of career success or something like that. PIE.
All right. Oh, PIE.
PIE, yeah. Performance image exposure, the PI model.
That is genius. I love especially the exposure portion, because the higher ups, the people that are making the decisions about who to advance within a given company, they got so much stuff going on. They see so many people that if they're not aware of you, it doesn't matter how good you're doing. They may be aware if you're bad, but if you're doing super awesome well, unless they know it, that's interesting. I love that.
The company I was at was a global company in the end, and they had a leadership event when the top 150 leaders, and 9,000 staff in the company, by the way, but the top 150 leaders had a conference, and I knew it was coming up next year. And I said to my boss, like, how do I get 5 minutes at that conference? You know, what project can I talk about and showcase so that I can just get 5 minutes at that conference? Because for me, that was a big goal I had, was to speak in front of the leadership. And in 5 minutes, I had the top 150 leaders across the whole company, knew exactly who I was. They'd seen me on stage at their event. That positions me as an expert, even though the reality was I was quite low level in the company at the time.
That's incredible.
There you go.
That's incredible. They have the insight, the confidence to knock that out and be like, I got this. Ain't no thing. Exactly. I love it.
You know, how long would it take you to get to know those 150 leaders one by one? You know, and
it'd be on the verge of impossible, right? Try to chase them down on LinkedIn, hang on at the water cooler forever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Whereas 5 minutes, you know, you get to know them all, they get to know you.
Yeah.
And it's that thing around positioning. The person stood at the front of the room is normally the one seen as the leader. Yes. So actually standing up as a leader in front of a leadership team is a great place to position yourself if you want to progress.
Because you're the one on the stage.
Exactly, right?
They're the crowd. There's a million of them. There's only one of you.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So, and that's really that theory is where Succeed Through Speaking was born from, because, you know, it's something I really do believe about. The more you speak in presenting, podcasting, creating video content, the more likely you are to succeed in your career or in business.
Mm-hmm. That's super cool. So did that presentation, 5 minutes in front of 150 people, leaders, did that advance you then, like you anticipated?
Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah, we're talking, you know, triple my salary in the pace of about 2 years.
Oh, that's cool.
Because it was 2 to 3 promotions. I was seen as the natural successor for my leader at the time. So yeah, just putting yourself in that position. By the way, you can't do that if you're not performing. You know, you can't be rubbish at your job and start speaking, and then, you know, you have to have all three. There's the 3 aspects.
You know what's interesting? I just want to pause for a moment, because I just had an interview with a potential job candidate a few days ago. And the guy, nice guy, but just not driven at all, to the point where I'm like, it seems I was embarrassed for him. Yeah. Like, you're given all this opportunity. I mean, this job, 50 million things. He has all this opportunity, and he was essentially the equivalent of working kind of a mediocre job with nowhere to go, nothing to learn. He wasn't necessarily hanging out with people, learning from them. It was just interesting. I realized, and I even said it when I was interviewing him, I'm like, we're looking for someone that has some drive, that has some ambition. You don't have to want to aim to be president, owner of a company, or chief, whatever. That's not necessarily the goal. But as far as your improvement of making yourself smarter, or improving a skill that you have or that you want, I want to learn how to play guitar, or learn another language, or something where you're working on advancing, drive of some kind. And it was just peculiar how I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm looking for people with drive.
Yeah.
I realized it because this guy had such a negative drive. Holy cow, we could never hire this guy.
No.
So it's interesting, as a business leader, you're after people with drive, especially the performers. But I guess typically if they're driven, they're going to perform.
Yeah, definitely. And that's something that's really highlighted my career, I guess, is that striving for something more. And that came from that one moment when I said, enough's enough. I need to get better. I need to improve. And I've seen the power of personal development and it's something I'm so passionate about, and I'm always looking for that next thing to learn, to grow, to develop. And yeah, that trait in people, I think, is a great trait to have.
Yeah, I love how you said I need to. Not that I want to or I have the desire, but it's a necessity.
It is. Yeah.
It's beautiful. I love it.
Yep.
Super cool. So when did you shift gears from advancing up the corporate ladder to screw this, I'm going on my own?
Yeah, it's been an organic. So I'll talk about my business. So Succeed Through Speaking. It's been created organically, and again, because I was my first client, and I wouldn't have wanted to pay me much as a coach because it took me 10 years to get me there. But I was my first client, and because I'd spent so long learning about speaking, watching the best, analyzing the gurus, working with coaches, all this time I'd spent doing it, people who started to say to me, oh, by the way, I've got a fear of speaking, or I'm a bit shy, I was drawn towards them to want to help them. And it wasn't in a paid coaching way in the first instance. It was just, I was just giving them advice, helping them, saying, do this, try this, you should go for this. And I really enjoyed helping people and seeing people build confidence. And I think at one point someone just said, how much do you charge? And I just picked a random number out there. It wasn't a lot, £50 an hour or something, or whatever it was.
All right.
And I got paid to coach somebody for my first time. And for me, that was, the trigger that said, you know what, I can make this work. And it's just been not looked back since then, really.
Nice. So was it tough quitting the corporate job that you had worked so hard to get to?
Of course. Yeah. And I mean, my recommendation for anyone isn't to just quit and then go all in on your business. And I always say to try and side hustle the business up until a point when you can at least cover your basic costs. And because it's such a risk to go stop the corporate job and just start a business, because 90% of new businesses fail in the first 12, 24 months, I think. So you want to try and get your business to a place where you're making enough money on the side to cover your basic costs so that you can then make that transition.
How long did it take you from the time that you started and your kind of side hustle to the time that you flipped a switch and went full-time all in?
Probably about 12 months, I'd say.
All right.
Yeah, about 12 months, because, and I say to all of my clients, there isn't an overnight success. There isn't a quick win. It just doesn't exist. So you need to invest, you need to spend time, you need to learn, grow, try new things, make mistakes. But if you can get a business to be sustainable in 12 months, I think you're doing pretty well.
And you're doing very well. You're doing better than probably most businesses.
Yeah, right. Yeah. And I mean, the great thing about coaching is it's very low cost as well. You don't have machinery, you don't have plant equipment, premises to buy. It's quite a low cost one to start with. Yeah,
it's a pretty low barrier to entry. In the end, it could come down to a website and 50 cups of coffee over the year, something like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Something of that nature. So as far as when you started your business, were there certain things about starting your business that you had to learn or brush up on or figure out what you didn't necessarily know you didn't know before you started? Or did you more or less figure it out on your own as you went?
No, so well, I mean, I want to go back as well just a second, because what I hadn't mentioned is I've always had this entrepreneurial bug. And during the 10 years I overcame my fear of speaking, I actually started about 4 businesses.
Did you really?
I did. So
that's awesome.
I started a graphic design business. I started a personal branding business, a property inventory business. But the thing is that I did was I made the business card, made the logo, made the website, created some emails, but I never actually told anybody about the businesses because I was too scared to actually, get judged.
Minor details.
Minor details, right? Details. So first 4 companies, 0 customers, 0 income, 0 revenue. And it almost again became starting another new business was another avoidance technique to having to actually talk about the first business. So that's something that I regret. But along the way, I learned how to make logos. I learned how to make business cards, how to make websites, how to make, landing pages.
All right.
So I did learn some skills, but that fear of speaking held me back from actually talking about those businesses.
Interesting.
And,
it's so I just want to, it's so funny because I always think of starting a new business is like getting a new girlfriend.
Yeah.
It's like there's that honeymoon period of the new relationship, right? The first few dates, everything is rainbows and moonbeams. It's fun, fun.
That's it.
And then you got to find customers. It's like she's like, "Hey, let's get married." And you're like, "Whoa,
Yeah. Hey, whoa.
customers! What? Whoa,
let's go find another girlfriend."
Yeah, that's easier.
Yeah.
So interesting how you started 4 businesses and you invested some cash. I mean, maybe it wasn't crazy cash, but still
not huge amounts.
Time, money, effort, business cards, website, all that jazz.
Yeah.
Probably told a few friends about it. It's like, hey, I got this.
Yeah. It was normally, I WhatsApped a link to my website to my mom and dad. I said, hey, just launched this business. They'd be like, cool. Have you got have you got any customers? I'd be like, no.
All right.
So but I did learn a lot. But yeah, that thing around, and this is why I always say to people, you need to start speaking about your business. You need to be not behind the laptop. You need to be the face of the business, the voice of the business. And I think that's what's going to really help you drive your success in business.
Yeah, that's awesome. So you started these 4 businesses.
Yeah.
At what point did you realize, wait a second, we're missing something here?
Customers.
How do we get customers? Especially with the, you mentioned the graphic design business.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's another business in there that's
personal branding.
There's pure irony right there.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah.
How did that work?
So I just had this idea. I think at the time there was a lot of books coming out and websites and videos coming out about personal branding and how important it was. And I thought to myself, I've just spent 10 years building my career and learning how to brand myself within my company. I thought, you know what, I can probably teach people a little bit about this.
Yeah.
And I had all the content, all the ideas. I could have absolutely taught people about it, but it meant me creating videos and actually putting myself out there as a, as the expert. And that for me was one step too far. And again, all of it came down to fear of judgment, fear of opinions, fear of embarrassing myself.
Sure.
And it all came down to that. I know it did.
All right. Can you just for, I guess, chronological, just a ballpark year when these were taking place?
So let's think 2018, we launched Succeed Through Speaking. So yeah, I'd say between 2012 and 2018, I probably spent time.
All right.
Building those businesses.
So one a year and a quarter, something like that.
Yeah, one
start another business.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Yeah. I even registered some of them as limited companies and got all the proper paperwork in, paid for business insurance. But yeah, didn't actually end up getting any customers.
Interesting. It's so interesting that you mentioned that statistic earlier about 90% of businesses failing in the first year. Because I wonder how many people have done what you did and went through the first, let's say, 10 out of the 12 steps that they need to start a business, right?
Mm-hmm.
They got their logo, name, business cards, government paperwork, all that jazz. And then did not take the step to actually promote the business or to bring awareness to the business and just closed up shop. And essentially that business just became a statistic.
It did.
They didn't make it.
It really did. Mm-hmm. I think there's a large proportion of people, especially, they get an idea, they think, great, love it. But then it's just that confidence to actually put that idea out in front of real people and face that judgment.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I was going to just mention, I heard the other day on a webinar it was called, he called it ABS. Have you heard of ABS braking, like in cars? I think it's called anti-lock braking system.
Yeah. Yep.
It was, he actually said that it was anything but selling. And it's something I resonated with because that's what I was doing in my business. I was doing anything I possibly could for the business, but selling. And that's the one thing that I wasn't able to do because, again,
oh, that's funny.
The confidence. So yeah, ABS system for businesses. It stops you generating customers.
We'll jazz up the website. We'll print up business cards.
Yeah.
We'll mop the floors. Anything but selling.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
But at the same time, again, passionate about personal development. I went on to do an MBA. About a couple of years ago, I ended that, and that really did help me then have the drive for personal development, the ability to know how to launch, grow, manage a business, this self coaching model of learning how to overcome my fear of speaking. And it was almost like a perfect storm. Those three come together for me to then say, do you know what, I'm finally ready. Let's start getting some real customers and making a good go at this business.
Nice. So with Succeed Through Speaking, you essentially needed those first 4, I don't want to call them failures, but let's just say experiences.
Yeah.
To make Succeed Through Speaking actually succeed.
I think so. Yeah. I think looking back, I saw them as failures and mistakes and, waste of time potentially. But had I not done them, it would have taken me a lot longer to figure out how to launch this business, I think.
Interesting. So you get Succeed Through Speaking launched, and now you're like, okay, I have to do selling. Not everything but selling or anything but selling. I have to actually go out and sell. How do you promote? How do you bring awareness to your new business, Succeed Through Speaking?
Luckily, through speaking.
Yeah.
Prove
the model.
And that's the model that I now teach as well. So, podcasting, presenting, webinars, speaking on virtual summits, creating video content, all of that together is, for me, the missing piece for most people's marketing puzzle. Because, we all do email campaigns, social media, paid Facebook ads. We all do landing pages, funnels, all those things happen. But for me, a lot of people still aren't doing the speaking, presenting, podcasting, webinars.
Yeah.
I think that's the missing piece to a lot of people's marketing puzzle. And for me, that's what helped me grow the business.
Interesting. When you're reaching out to people saying, hey, Succeed Through Speaking, we're going to help you push your business by pushing your brand, essentially by presenting to people, what kind of pushback do you get from people?
So my ideal client are those that were like me, which have got a fear of public speaking. So yeah, huge pushback. I'll never be confident enough. I'd much rather be hidden behind my laptop making, minimum wage. So I need to do a lot of work around mindset shift, around using my story to help people see it is possible. Limiting beliefs, fears. There's a lot of mindset stuff I need to do with my clients in the early days to get them to have that self-belief to go and do it.
Nice.
But yeah, one thing I always talk about with speaking, and it's the first mindset shift, is that learning to speak is just like learning to ride a bike, to swim, any skill. You're not going to, if you're learning to swim, you're not going to spend your first swimming lesson in the Pacific Ocean. You're not going to.
No.
And when you learn to speak, I'm not going to put you on stage in front of 1,000 people, or at Tony Robbins' event. It's just not going to happen. So I always say to them, look, we're going to start small. You're going to do your first win, then your second win, then your third win, then maybe 20 wins before you actually end up on a stage. And I'm going to hold your hand the whole way, make it really easy for you and comfortable. It's what I needed at the time, someone to hold my hand and push me along this journey.
Nice. So with your clients, do you have a curriculum already set up, or is it more figure it out as you go with the individual client, figuring out what they need or where their weaknesses are versus their strengths?
When I started, it was one-to-one coaching. I think a lot of coaches can start in that space. I got to the point where I couldn't take on any more clients. I thought maybe I need to switch over to group coaching. So when it was one-to-one, it was very much personalized. Let's just figure things out as we go. Now I've built a 5-step system, and we get a cohort of people. We take them all on the same journey together, supported by the coaches in the community. And yeah, we get the results as a cohort.
Nice. Has it been a challenge to find clients?
I don't need a huge amount of clients to make it work. So not really, no. Let's say, for example, I run one webinar a month on the first Thursday of the month at 4 p.m. UK time. I've got that consistency now. And all I need is, let's say, 20, 30 people to turn to my webinar, and I get 2 or 3 clients, and it's absolutely sustainable and quite a successful business model. So
nice.
Yeah, for me, no, I don't need huge volumes of people to come along.
All right, very cool. And the clients that you have, after they go through this 5-step process, is it more or less, hey, caterpillar, you're now a butterfly, spread your wings and fly? Or do people stay with you for some routine coaching?
Yeah, so this is what I do differently. So a lot of coaches that I've worked with over the years have said, here's my 6-week coaching program, here's my 12-week coaching program, here's my 9-week coaching program, for example. And what I find is that you'll get some early results and then you're left on your own and you ultimately fall back into old habits and you don't end up implementing what you just spent, £5,000-10,000 trying to learn over 12 weeks. So I always work with people for 12 months at a minimum. So we get a lot of the early results in 8, maybe 6 to 12 weeks, let's say, but then they've got 9 more months of, one-to-one or group coaching with me to give them that support they need to keep building that momentum.
Very cool. What are some challenges that you run into with the Succeed Through Speaking business that you didn't necessarily anticipate?
So I think one challenge that I ran into was I tried to automate my business quite a lot, and there is definitely value in automation. But what I did is I recorded a webinar.
All right.
I set it up as an evergreen webinar, and I then had that running every 15 minutes of the day, all day, every day, Monday to Sunday, and which in theory is great because I'm, cloning myself. But I found what had happened was I took away that personalization, that authenticity, that connection, that ability for people to ask me questions and find out really about me. Also, it meant I had to spend a fortune on Facebook to drive traffic to these automated webinars.
Oh, sure.
And then with things like the iOS updates and, Facebook ads crashing for no reason, there's just certain things which made me decide to move away from that model. And I now only run live webinars in real people, real connection. And that's something I had to learn the hard way.
All right. With the webinars, these are all remote, right? Via computer.
Virtual. Yeah.
So is it a challenge to present to people when a lot of times you're looking at a black screen with their name, if they even have their name up there? Is it? So I guess I found that to be a challenge on my end when I present virtually. It's tough.
It is.
So I don't know if you find the same thing.
So where I got to in my career was I ended up working in digital learning. So creating digital learning content. I was great at virtual facilitation, running webinars as part of my career. So one thing that I've found from running webinars is you shouldn't just talk at people. That's when it feels like you're speaking to yourself. You're in a black box and you're just talking to yourself. The more you can bring in facilitation, participation, audience engagement, collaboration, the more you can do that, it feels like a great conversation. You actually enjoy it more, and the audience enjoy it more as well. They don't feel like they're just being talked at.
Gotcha.
So things like, okay, guys, so drop a number 1 into the chat box if you agree with X. Type into the chat box what you think about this. Okay, James, I've just seen that you typed this into the chat box. Can you just come off mute for a second and let us know a little bit more about what you mean? Those kinds of things. If you can get that audience participation, it makes a massive difference.
That's awesome. I love it. So now, future, what is the plan or the goal for Succeed Through Speaking?
Succeed Through Speaking. So I think I would like to get to the point when I can make more impact in the world. With my group coaching programs, I try and limit it to 10 to 15 people because I like to be able to get that one-to-one support with people and really help them. My goal now is to really think about how do I try and keep that personalization and that close connection, but have a bigger impact, because helping 10 to 15 people's, it's okay, but there's millions more people out there that have got a fear of speaking, or being held back, being limited. And one thing that I'm really passionate about as well is actually going back into schools and universities and helping kids who were like I was with low confidence to actually build that confidence at a much earlier stage in their life as well.
Oh, nice. All right. Well, that's super cool. Is it tough to break into those?
It is. And actually, one thing I didn't mention earlier, one of the biggest mistakes I made when I first launched Succeed Through Speaking was to go straight into schools and universities.
Okay.
I wanted to create the impact, but the problem is kids didn't have the budget, parents didn't have the budget, and the schools ultimately didn't have the budget either. So as much as I would love to have spent all my waking hours helping these kids, for me to be able to do that as a sustainable way, it wasn't viable. So now I've got some revenue from paying clients. It may well be that I can go back in as, more voluntary back into the schools at some point.
Gotcha. Do you see the students and stuff like that? Do you see them as being aware of how necessary it is to have good communication?
I, I don't think so. From my reflection back when I was at university, I think it was glossed over. I feel like they said you've got to stand up and do a presentation because we're going to grade you on it. But I don't feel like they make it clear enough that if you don't do this and you don't get good at it, it is going to limit your chances of success in later life.
Interesting.
And one thing that I used to think about my school teachers was that if I was the shy kid, they're okay with that because, it's one less person to deal with behavioral issues.
Right.
And I wish that they tried to force me outside of my comfort zone, to push me, to get me to speak, get me to make friends. But it was a lot easier for them to just leave me as the shy kid in the class, I think.
Yeah, imagine if you got a class full of, let's say 30 kids and you got 2 obnoxious kids.
Yeah.
You're having to deal with those. You really don't want anybody else to make any noise, good or bad. Because all your headspace is going and try to maintain education for the 28 kids as best you can with the 2 obnoxious kids dragging the class down.
Yeah. Exactly.
So I get it. It's a challenging position. Very challenging. Where you and I, when we present, generally speaking, it's a higher level person than where a teacher just has to present to whoever they're given. Love it or hate it.
Yeah,
these are your kids now.
Yeah. And by the way, I couldn't do it. My wife was a school teacher. I think it's an amazing profession, but I couldn't do it. Yeah,
it's funny. My wife's the teacher as well. She teaches 8th grade, and I'm like, there's got to be the worst grade in the world to teach.
How'd you do it?
I can't even wrap my head around how, let alone why someone would want to do that.
Yeah.
Can't even begin to fathom.
I think I'll be happy to go in for an hour, do my training, coaching, giving some support, and then go back out, I think.
Nice. I want to dig up that side tangent a little bit. Your wife's a teacher, so she presents.
Yes.
Every day, right? So does she ever look at your curriculum or anything like that and say, oh, no.
No, it's actually really hard to explain to someone who's super confident, how we are. And because for me, for her to stand up in front of 60 people and speak, it's not thought about. It's not something she'd have to ever think about. You just do it, right? So it's hard to then explain to them how I'm feeling, why I can't do it. So no, I think it's actually really, really difficult to help extroverts, confident people, people who've got that energy, and to actually understand from an introvert's perspective why it's so difficult to stand up and speak in front of people.
That's interesting. That's very interesting. I always found during the pandemic, I imagine you have the same thing where you're an extrovert. I imagine now, would you consider yourself an extrovert?
No, I'm still an off the scale introvert. So after speaking, I'd need to go and lock myself in a quiet room for 3 hours and recharge the batteries.
Do you really?
That's the reality. Yeah, it takes a lot out of me standing up and speaking. I've had to learn how to do it. But introversion is something that's like built into your way of being, I think. And it's still something that's going to be with me forever. I've had to learn how to be extroverted in the moment, then come back and recharge the batteries afterwards.
I think what was the thing they said about Johnny Carson, that he was a live wire if you had a red light on from the camera, but as soon as that red light went off, he was an introvert.
That's it.
Kind of funny.
I've heard a lot of actors.
I've
heard a lot of actors learn how to switch it on, and they can be this amazing character, but they'll go back into their green room or their changing room, and they'll just switch off and try and be quiet for a good 60 minutes.
Oh, that's so interesting to me, man. After I speak, I'm fired up. I got to do push-ups or something like that to calm myself down. Especially when you have a good crowd. Oh my gosh, I feel like that's why musicians keep coming back for encores.
Yes,
because they're like, we're not done yet. Let's keep it rocking.
And I think that's where extroverts will draw their energy from the crowd. They'll draw their energy from an audience, and introverts draw their energy from quiet space, reflection.
All right.
So that's and you probably would go mad being sat on your own in a cabin for a week without anyone to talk to, right?
Yeah, for an hour, fantastic.
Yeah.
For a week, no.
No, you go crazy.
I'm breaking out of those walls somehow. It's happening.
For me, I could happily spend a week on my own in a cabin, reflecting and writing and thinking.
Wow.
So, I know it's just the way we're built, isn't it? There's nothing I don't think we can change introversion or extroversion, but we can switch it on and off when we need.
Okay. All right. Well, in the end, you're accomplishing the goals you want. So it's all good. Plus you're helping others accomplish theirs as well. So
yes,
that's admirable.
That's it.
That's incredibly cool. Tom, how can people find you?
So to be honest, I've got that brand now, Succeed Through Speaking. So I've got the Succeed Through Speaking podcast. I've got the succeedthroughspeaking.com website, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn. They've all got Succeed Through Speaking URLs. So yeah, type it into Google and you'll find me online. Succeed Through Speaking. You will just find Tom. That's it. Cool. Well, Tom, thanks so much for being on the show. This has been eye-opening. It's been super cool. And really, I got to say, I don't hear people doing what you're doing. So, and it's certainly needed. I know that I as an extrovert, I love talking with people. And there's sometimes when you wish that people would learn how to talk to people a little bit more than they do. But I think people take for granted the value of being able to communicate. They do. Absolutely. Yeah. But like I said before, it's a skill that you can learn. So yeah, let me know. And I'm more than happy to help people learn. Awesome. Cool. I appreciate it. Well, Tom, thanks so much for being on the show. Thanks again, James. I really appreciate you inviting me and letting me share such great value with your audience. Absolutely. Yeah. This has been Authentic Business Adventures, the business program that brings you the struggle stories and triumphant successes of business owners across the land. We're underwritten locally by the Bank of Sun Prairie. If you're listening or watching this on the web, please do us a huge favor. Click that like button, subscribe, comment, and of course, share it with your entrepreneurial and introverted friends, right? Yeah. My name is James Cademan, and Authentic Business Adventures is brought to you by Calls on Call, offering call answering and receptionist services for service businesses across the country on the web at callsoncall.com, as well as Draw In Customers Business Coaching, offering business coaching services for entrepreneurs looking for growth on the web at drawincustomers.com. And of course, the Bold Business Book, a book for the entrepreneur in all of us, available wherever fine books are sold. We'd like to thank you, our wonderful listeners, as well as our guest, Tom Bailey, the founder and coach of Succeed Through Speaking. Tom, can you remind us again? All they have to do is just type Succeed Absolutely. Just go to succeedthroughspeaking.com and you'll find me there. Awesome. I love it. Past episodes can be found morning, noon, and night. The podcast link found at drawincustomers.com. Thank you for listening. We'll see you next week. I want you to stay awesome. And if you do nothing else, you know what to do. Enjoy your business.